In writing assignment 4, our goal is to create a 10-item questionnaire, and that 10-item questionnaire is going to be focused on something that we can measure as a state. And the difference between a state and what is called a trait-based measure is that what we're trying to do is measure something that's happening in this moment. And the reason we're doing that, measuring something that can happen in this moment that can be changed, is because we want to potentially use this self-report questionnaire as a way of measuring our dependent variable. If we're using this to measure our dependent variable, it must therefore change. And so a trait, something that's very consistent to me as a person, maybe I'm always introverted or I am always confident. Those types of things we don't want to measure because I can't change those in the moment. But I can measure how confident you feel right now or how introverted you feel right now. And the idea would be, of course, that if my independent variable causes changes in your confidence or your introversion or your mood, your emotions, your feelings, any of those things, that I could then measure that change. So as part of writing assignment 4, I want you to come up with 10 statements. 5 of those statements should be reverse scored or in such a way that they're reverse coded when you code this questionnaire. In other words, if I'm going to measure how confident someone feels in this moment, 5 of my statements would be designed so that someone would have to strongly agree if they feel really confident. But 5 of those statements would need to be worded so that the person would strongly disagree if, in fact, they feel highly confident in that moment. And then when we go in and code those statements, we're going to reverse code them so that a strongly disagree would be coded as if it were a strongly agree. Now, do remember, the idea is we're not including statements like I am male or I like to watch lots of TV or I tend to spend a lot of time on social media. None of those things could be changed in the moment. And so we want to focus on things that people are feeling or thinking in that moment, like my mind is racing or I feel very secure right now. Now, if I were going to do a reverse statement that is, on my mind is racing, I might say my mind is at ease or my mind is peaceful. I feel secure right now. A reverse version of that kind of statement would be I feel very insecure right now. So you can see how a reverse coded item should be. Now remember, we don't want those trait-based statements. I am a steady person. Nope. That refers to months, weeks, a lifetime. I feel steady right now would be the example of a state questionnaire. Now remember that we're going to have to always decide how our participants are actually going to respond. And so I do want you, for each statement, to indicate the type of response scale you're going to allow your participant. And I would assume that the response scales will be the same for all your items. And what I mean by a fixed format scale is that you're going to provide some numbers and the labels for those numbers. So a Likert scale would be essentially from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Or you could do a semantic differential scale from, say, easy to hard. But once again, we need to have the labels for each of the numbers that are going to represent what a participant can select in response to these items. Now remember that in general, when we're talking about validity of a questionnaire, we can use a lot of different things. Face validity, or on the surface, it looks like that question measures what we think it should. That's going to be something that I will take into consideration for this assignment. But we also want to have content validity. In other words, if I'm a confident person, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What is the subjective experience of confidence in its many components? Same with anxiety, same with mood. Anything that we're going to measure in the moment, there may be behaviors, emotions, or thoughts that go along with it. And those are the types of content that you should consider including in your statements. Now remember, at the very top, I want you to label what the concept is that you're hoping that this questionnaire will actually measure. And just as a reminder, don't go online and find a scale that's already there. The idea here is I want you to come up with your own state-based 10-item self-report questionnaire for writing assignment 4. And if you are thinking for your own proposal for your experiment, that you will have the need to use a self-report questionnaire to measure your dependent variable, this is the perfect time to come up with that measure.